That's probably that answer. Yeah. It's a good area. Yeah. Hi.
I just am wondering because I come to this all the time, and I always put my email on there, but I don't get those. But friends of mine from St. Patrick's always tell me it's coming. They know I can come.
Hello, sir. Is this yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there, just curious, what is the reason why you're recording or something that you want to discuss?
Several advocacy groups. Several advocacy groups.
You want to discuss several advocacy groups?
Well, related to bicycles.
So we generally do a recording that we post on our Facebook. We generally don't do anything live because that turns into like a question and answer thing. That's like a media type thing. I always have to get approval from that from our public information office. So we don't want people recording, but when streaming live is usually what. I mean, because then I have to like the media. And we have rules for like the media that we have to say. No, what you're recording or streaming? I'll probably what you're recording. So it's my understanding that I call the PIO's office. You see, but that's usually what I was always just told. Is that we have to get permission ahead of time from the PIO's office. We're going to go into an interview. I don't know if I asked Lieutenant in charge of the PIO real quick, but I'm not sure who. But you can record it, much as it's not straight. We have it on the website.
Yeah, just reply Facebook.
Yeah, our Facebook, and then it's going to be recorded on there, and you can actually share it with whatever happens to be like. Our content guide, so that's me, and that's my partner over here, Officer Romo, and that's the person that's here. And then right here is Sergeant Michelle.
I'll look into that tomorrow.
His name is Jeremiah Jackson, and that's all of our information. And then we also have where you can send in drug complaints. We also have Safe and Sound. It's a nonprofit organization that we work with. They're taxable everywhere. They're going to be PCD. And so as you turn the page, we're happy to do this. And you turn the page. It's a list like for come out. This is a list of all of our dates we're going to be here in this building for our private safety meeting. Okay. Right.
So, well, he's checking to see whether or not I can go live. So other places that problem.
I think that we're being we have our own that we put up on YouTube, and that way you can share it that way. That That's fine.
I do know about it. I do, it's that many, you have the calendar online. I'm well anticipating the yeah, because that's where the
That's the first time for me.
I only come because, you know, yeah, it's just a reason.
I got a microphone up there already. I just wanted to.
You want to start? You gotta go right
And clearly I'm not from District 5.
No, that's okay.
I'm actually from the Unscroll.
Well, that's all right.
For people that don't feel.
For me, it was good. How many people over here, Joe? What do you want me to do? Take the commission and
Thanks for coming, I appreciate it. Okay. Well, Dave's not here, but I. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to, unfortunately, I have another engagement I have to go to, so normally I usually go in the very end. Today I'm going to have my team handle the crime stats and the numbers for you. And I'm going to go ahead of the guest speaker who's running a little bit late anyway. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity. Let me first start by introducing myself. I'm Captain Jeremiah Jacks. I am the commander of the 5th District. I see some new faces here today, some of the regular faces. I just want to say thank you for coming. Number one cause of a safe community is an involved community. I know some people might have some questions. I want to give people an opportunity to ask me questions before I have to leave. I got about 25 minutes. Is there anyone that has any questions or concerns that they wanted to bring up that's not going to be related to these stats?
Me,
Yes.
I want to know what are we doing about ICE? Are we doing anything that's preventing, getting our residents informed on how to deal with them, what what is, the fifth district's, stand on it? I know one of the districts said that it's hands-off, so what's your approach? Because I guess it's gonna be individualized from the police departments, like if they see ICE harassing someone, it's an offhand approach.
So the police department only has one policy, and that policy is on our website. It's our standard operating procedure that you can, everyone can have access to it. I meant to print it up, but I left it unprepared, and someone was supposed to email it to me, and that's an email to me. But I can tell you the general aspects of it is Milwaukee Police Department does not ask for anyone's immigration status. We don't ask you for permanent residence, people in the community to be open and honest with us, to be able to feel free to call the police. If people are scared to call the police because they're afraid of we're going to turn them into ICE or something like that, that makes it a non-safe community because, you know, someone who might not be documented or properly documented might be able to do a crime. And we want to be able to make sure people who are out here victimizing our citizens, that we can hold them accountable. We also, in Milwaukee Police Department, we don't recognize administrative warrants. So if someone was to, even if you were to get arrested and you were, and you see a container running name, we don't contact ICE because there's a administrative warrant. Administrative warrant is something that's put out by an officer or someone who is not a judge. Now, we do recognize judicial warrants. That's something totally different. But if that's something the judge issues, and we do follow those. Now, if someone is arrested and someone who might be undocumented or has some issues going on in, with their status, if they're arrested for a felony crime and they're looking to the system, I should probably find out, and that's always been the case. Now, when it comes to some of the actions that ICE has taken in other states that has caused the alarm, we're not here to, we're not here to police ICE. They do have a process. They're a law enforcement agency, as in every other law enforcement agency. We will address things as things do come up along with the command staff, the district attorney's office, and the FBI, the people who are in charge of investigating federal agents. And we will make determinations based on that. We're not going to be there assisting ICE members in their apprehension of people. Obviously, we treat ICE as every other law enforcement agency, and also we treat ICE as every other citizen. So if someone wants to call and ask for our assistance because they're being beat up or hit or being harassed, we will respond, we will assess the situation, and we will take what is the appropriate action. But ICE officers are law enforcement. They do have arrest powers. So we have to also keep that in mind. So all the witnesses here, any comments?
Recently, the Common Council announced the launch of a Know Your Rights webpage attached to the city website at walking.gov.
We can't hear you.
Recently, get it right here. You got it?
Testing.
Recently, the Common Council announced the launch of a Know Your Rights webpage attached to the Milwaukee.gov website that covers some basic information that citizens might want to know about their rights as it relates to what's going on with ICE. So if you go to Milwaukee.gov, you can look for Know Your Rights, and it's a series of information there. And later this week, you will hear an announcement of a series of Know Your Rights workshops in the community for residents and organizations who might be interested in gaining more information about knowing your rights as well. Myself and several of my colleagues also put forward a communication file that will be heard at the next, hopefully, Steering and Rules Committee that access the various departments, the city attorney, MPD, the mayor's office, and others, MPS and others. What's the plan? What, on a bureaucratic level, what's the plan of what we're supposed to do if, in fact, a ICE surge happens here in Milwaukee or any federal militaristic surge happens here. So those are three things: the website, public workshops on Know Your Rights, and then there's the communication file that will take place in front of the steering rules committee. Thank you.
I have a question. Are you guys putting in any ordinance about keeping ice from preventing for the schools, going into the schools and taking over, going into the hospitals, taking over, going into the police stations and taking over, because they are government agencies?
So it is my understanding that MPS already has a policy to not allow ICE, that exists already. We don't have an ordinance that does it, but that their own policy says that.
What about the police station, the fire station, the hospital?
So part of the need for the communication file, and like I said, the city attorney will also be present, is to also ensure that we're aware legally of what we can and cannot do. So as it stands now, no, but could that be forthcoming? Possibly.
Can you explain what a communication file is?
Exactly what it sounds like, to talk, to come forward with information about whatever the issue is in the communication file. And for this, the information they're asked to come forward with is what is the strategy and plans if Milwaukee is to see a surge in ICE or any other federal militaristic department.
Any leader, we had a question? Ask for it.
Yes, and I do not need a microphone. My name is Rachel. I just want to thank all the persons for coming this evening. I guess my biggest concern is for the department overall, because we're in a crime and safety meeting. ICE may come and ICE may go one way or the other. My concern for you guys is you're a lasting presence in the community. What is your plan to make sure that they don't bring down your representation, your connection with the community, and your integrity by involving you in actions that unintentionally or intentionally oppress your communities and your neighborhoods? So how are you aligning yourselves with the people that you have long-term relationships with as opposed to an invading force? What's the plan there?
So as I mentioned before, is ICE, as we're calling them, is a law enforcement agency. Okay? We're not going to participate in any of their apprehensions of people. We're not going to be detaining people who they arrest. They have their own system for that. ICE has been here for many years, and we've never really had a problem before. We're hoping that the temperature has dropped down. With that being said, I 100% fully and always supported people whose right to protest and be out there, right? And to freely speak what they want to do. Obviously, we don't want anyone to interfere with any law enforcement actions, but I will always protect, make sure that our citizens' First Amendment rights are protected, and they have an opportunity to speak their voice and to say their mind and to be out there. We always make sure that we have officers present to make sure that you're safe. Being over invading force, we always try to stand back, have our actions. But when you see us there, it's not because we're spying or ICE or anything like that. It's more or less just to make no fights, no research.
Just to follow up to that, there's already been a slight erosion of trust knowing that the chief of police in Milwaukee has gone to Israel for counter-protest training. So how are we to trust that you guys are going to be on the side of the public and the rights of people as they stand today, and make sure that you'll be upholding people's First, Second, and Fourth Amendment rights, and make sure that there's due process before anyone is coming up against the ICE agents, because we want to make sure that everyone's protected, but having the visibility and the understanding that the chief of police has already gone to Israel for training doesn't give us that kind of confidence within our community, because we know what the IDF is capable of and what their reputation is. Thank you.
I can't speak for the chief of police. He can choose to go to any training he wishes to. He doesn't answer to me.
Did he pay for it privately, or was it used with public dollars?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't ask him. I know he gave, I didn't watch the last Fire Police Commission hearing where they were discussing this matter. I was busy, so I don't have an answer for you. But I know they did discuss this issue. The Fire Police Commission is on their website. You can watch the video. It's a good thing there's another Fire Police Commission hearing tomorrow. I might also address some of those same issues. We always want to, we want our community trust. We work really hard on reaching out to the community, building trust, knocking down silos. And I feel that the Milwaukee Police Department is in a better place than it was when I was a young male growing up here in the early 90s, right? We're no longer just stopping and frisking people. We're not just arresting people for minor violations. We've done a lot to build trust. We do a lot of community events. We partner with a lot of community violence interrupters. We do a lot. So unfortunately, what's happening across the country with ICE is terrible. We have no control over it. Some things that we just don't have control over. I wish we did. But sometimes we don't have control over what someone else's actions are, and we're going to have to deal with it as those things come, and we have to address it appropriately as those things come. A lot of this stuff might be handled at a way higher level than the Army Higher Than Chief, the governor's office, the mayor is going to be with the politicians and how they deal with this era that we're going through right now.
I just want to say before I close out, I don't want to be combative. I do know that the process you guys have built in the community, we have strong relations promoted by making poor decisions. So that's where I'm coming from on this.
Thank you. And then,
Okay, so the next couple of years ago, who started y'all to be on the committee running the table?
sorry, what's the last part?
I said, who started y'all to be on the committee running the table? Which side of y'all want to take over?
When it comes to take over?
You win.
That's never going to happen, but,
Yeah, at the same time, where my boss did, I tell him all kinds of stuff, and he plays it out, and he say, I get it. I say, y'all, and can't pass on it.
Well, that's what we do.
They have either had trains come through here, whatever, UN trucks, all that stuff, whatever. They have showed down in Texas, with UN trucks coming in and stuff like that, whatever. What y'all want to do about that?
Well, if that happens, we have to address that at that point. As far as we know, this is the United States of America, and no coordination, no coordination will be here to take us over. That will be, I'm confident that we will be on the side of inheritance. Something like that.
You're making something like silos.
Sorry, what? Knocking over silos? Yes, knocking over silos is the building trust between communities where it is not.
But they already got those being built up in New York already.
I think New York has worked really hard to build a bridge or knock down silos to be more connected with their community members, as I talked to my counterparts out there.
But the silos are where they're gonna trap people inside of there, whatever. They already got a movie out there called Silo.
Oh, I think we're talking two totally different things. But we can talk offline about that. Anyone else have any other questions? Yes. Oh, that's right. You asked one first. Let me answer your questions first. Sir?
Oh, so when there's empty vehicles left on the road and there's kids inside, what are you gonna do with those? What are you gonna do with the children that are left behind?
Anytime there's children that's not being properly supervised by an adult, we work with children with protective services to make sure that they are taken care of appropriately. Ma'am?
I'm just interested in what you've learned land areas to deal with ice when it comes. I just listened to, I recommend listening to, there's a This American Life episode on What is Your Emergency? And it was recordings of 911 calls of people calling because of ice. And it was really frightening because the police department, they didn't know what to do. And you had people who were being, their car was being broken into like ice as they're on a call with 911. And there was a story in which some ICE officers rammed into a guy's car, but then claimed that he had rammed into theirs and called 911 because he was leaving the scene of an accident. And then the police officers helped apprehend, catch the guy, and then the ICE officers arrested, took him in. So I just feel like there's a lot of really difficult situations that I really need a plan for.
So my assumption is the temperature is being lowered from watching the media. I'm assuming, and I'm hoping, and I'm praying those other actions are already passed. I know our politicians, your representatives and your senators are working through Congress to try to address those issues over the actions of ICE officers that we're all seeing that happen up north from here. So I'm hoping the temperature starts to drop. They start behaving in a more police manner because there are police officers, and obviously their actions one day can affect us and how you look at us. I think what you want to hear is that we're going to go off and arrest ICE officers. And I can tell you that means I can't just go say, well, I don't like what you're doing, I don't like your policy, I'm going to go take it to custody. I can't do that. Now, I can document something and I can bring it to the Attorney General's, as we would do with any other law enforcement agency. Hey, this doesn't look right, we need to look at this. We can just talk to the DA's office, we can talk to the Attorney General's office. There's ways of doing it. If you're asking me if I'm going to send my officers to go arrest ICE officers while they're in the middle of an operation, I can tell you the chief has already said no. There's a perception over an investigation that we're going to have to do. Like most of my career, I worked in the homicide division. As a member of, as a homicide detective, one of my big major responsibilities was investigating officer-involved shootings. I've been a part of presenting cases where officers have been charged, have been prosecuted, and had to go through the court process. So it's not that we, and some of them have, or a few of them have ended up in prison from it. So it's not that we shy away from doing those type of investigations. Are we going to arrest someone right there on scene? Probably not. Can we investigate it, get it presented to the DA's office, and go through the regular course of business, how we would do all law enforcement agencies?
Let me put it this way.
The answer is yes.
Let me put it this way. If you were to approach an operation and they had somebody in an illegal chokehold, would you intervene?
The Milwaukee Police Department does not participate in chokeholds. The Milwaukee Police Department has a policy of not participating in chokeholds.
But
that's a policy. ICE might have a different policy.
If that person's life was in jeopardy?
If someone's life was in jeopardy, yes, an officer will intervene if someone's life is in jeopardy. But it's just like a chokehold or something like that. That's our policy. Other law enforcement agencies might have a policy. The Milwaukee Police Department does not take cars. Every other suburb around here takes cars. When they come to the city of Milwaukee, they can get a car. It's their policy. We don't do it. We can't stop another law enforcement agency from dictating how they police. Yes.
I think I know that for Councilman Pierce. And I did just hear that, we can't hear you.
Hold on. It's not over there.
What about in here?
I'm Nicole Philip, I'm the corner of Thompson and Pierce, and I just heard on the news that they were removing 700 ICE agents. There usually is 150, and there will be 2,000 left. Now, what the police force has been doing in Minnesota is arresting ICE officers or giving them tickets for jaywalking, for parking, for being found in their car passed out drunk, because a lot of these individuals have records, and so, and shouldn't be on the force anyway. So I'm wondering if you can assure us.
The city of Milwaukee is intoxicated or violating an ordinance when they're in the office or drunk in the car, will be handled appropriately. So whether they're an ICE officer or not, ICE officers have gotten arrested for committing crimes while they're off duty. And same as every other law enforcement agency has members have gotten arrested for actions that they get off duty. And yes, they will be, if you're drunk and disorderly, yes, we will take them into custody. If someone's violating some outside of the scope of their employment, violating the law, we'll take appropriate action, regardless of who you are. And we always have that.
Good. I'm also wondering, just like we have tornado drills, so if it does get out of hand, because what I've heard from the mayor and from the police department is a canned speech on, oh, it's probably going to be okay, and, you know, we'll deal with it when it comes, and that doesn't feel good to me. And it doesn't feel good to anybody that I know that's going out to protest, that legally, First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth and Fifth Amendments are legal, and we are protesters being shot, killed, pushed over, dragged from their cars, and I'm wondering, what is the plan? And I will keep asking that, and it will go down to the police precinct, and I will keep asking it. So, what's the plan?
If you're in a protest that has been permitted, and there's several permitted protests that have been occurring every single day that we are aware of, and people are on there in one area. We're going to make sure that you're well protected. And I haven't seen ICE show up to those protests and start grabbing people. I will say, if you happen to see ICE knocking on the door and you walk on the porch while they're trying to take someone into custody, I would recommend against that, because there are still law enforcement officers. You might not like that they're here to deport people, because I'm not. I'm saying this, but if people, I did answer your question. Well, this is my answer. My answer is, if people are out there protesting, and it's it was all, we're there, even sometimes if it's not, we still are there, we're there still in distance. If someone's actively interfering with a law enforcement action, that's a gamble that you're taking, right? If someone is actively engaging with a law enforcement officer as they are doing their job, right, you know there's a very good chance you might get arrested. I'm being honest, totally 100% honest with you. You can ask another question.
You're assuming that the protesters are not causing trouble, and that's.
I'm not saying they're protesting. Now, I'm saying, if you're asking me the example, if you see someone on a porch getting ready to take someone in custody, and you decide to interject yourself, and you want a porch too, that's one thing. If you're standing across the street recording, I don't have a problem with that. You can stand there and record all day long.
I'm saying if you are seeing ICE agents do something that is against the law towards the citizenry, you're assuming that protesters are doing something wrong. It is not always the case. I know you're coming from law enforcement.
Yes.
I am coming from a citizen that expects protection from ICE agents, Border Patrol, anybody that is interfering with my rights and putting me in danger, saying I'm going away from the situation and they're chasing after. Like, what are you guys doing to protect the citizenry, to make us feel safer if ICE comes to town?
Okay. If when ICE comes to town,
Yes,
ICE is
when?
always in town, you're already here, they've been here.
Yes, I know.
And if I were to see them for no odd reason, let's just give the example that you want to hear. If I see a citizen walking down the street with their grocery bags, and all of a sudden an ICE agent is chasing them for no apparent reason, just because they don't like the person walking down the bag, yes, we can stop and talk to them, see what's going on in that type of situation. Now, if someone's actively, you want to call it protesting, which is totally fine, it is protesting. But if you're interfering with the law enforcement action, ICE does have the right to take people into custody. They have that legal authority, and I can't take that away from them. If you ask me if I can take their legal authority away from them, I cannot. Do I wish I could? Yeah, I wish I had that power, but I'm not the president.
So when they dragged the senior citizen, that's an Asian fellow that was in his underwear out, that was taped, videotaped, if you saw that, could you go up and say, hey, is there a reason why you're taking this guy away? Does he actually have a record? Or are you just taking him away? Because 70% of the people that are at all, over 70%.
And you're absolutely right, okay? The same goes to, I understand before you get to that. The same point is, if I don't know if a FBI agent is arresting the right person, and I hope that FBI agent says, I just hear a full investigation of why you're taking this person into custody, the FBI agent will look at me in line. If I did that to an ATF agent, the ATF will look at me in line. If I did that to a DEA agent, I need to see your whole drug investigation, he'll look at me in line. The same response that I was expect from an ICE agent. Now, that was a cheerful thing. But what I would expect is for someone to say, hey, that look is not so good, maybe you should go get some clothes, because we don't treat people that way.
Yeah, or the person that couldn't walk that got dragged from her car and tossed on her face with her hands behind her back. She was not posing a threat. They dragged her from her car. Are you going to say that you're not going to say, hey, what's going on? She's not causing a trouble. And ask them to have a moral conscience?
We're not going to be following ICE around, engaging them.
No, if you see them, if you see them doing it.
If we see someone doing something, officers can document it and report it up their chain of command, and we can work with it. The officers are not going to be able to arrest. I'll be honest with you. So you're asking me who has the more arrest powers? Right? Would it become a fight between me and a federal officer? The federal officer will win every single time. Yes.
Hi, Jeremiah. Corey, Brewer Hills. So in short, basically, you have little jurisdiction because it's federal.
We have no jurisdiction over federal officers, right? And I can investigate things, I can report things to the district attorney's office, I can report things to the AG's office. We can report those things and turn over evidence against those, and they can make a determination. But if you're asking, can a police officer just decide that I don't like the way how this person is handling their investigation without having all the details of it, or demanding they get that information? The answer is no. The same thing is, they can't do that to me either. I mean, I think that's where we're getting lost in the weeds here. Do I want ICE to behave as proper law enforcement officers? Absolutely, right? But I take appropriate actions, what I consider appropriate, of talking to the people who can make sure who have over and the AG's office. And that's the route that we have to take. We have to be professional at all times. Because I can't dictate to another law enforcement agency how they police.
How comfortable is the department?
How comfortable is the department with the ICE agents being masked? We've got we would have a whole brigade of masked individuals patrolling our streets. Yeah, what's the...
If you're asking me for my own personal opinion, I don't like police officers who wear masks. You should be able to show your face. If you're doing everything correctly, you should be able to show your face. I don't wear masks. I sit here on camera, I sit here on TV, people know who I am when I walk to the store, when they see me, they say hi to me, or they might not like me, whatever, but they know who I am, and I'm willing to stand by the actions that I make and things that I say. I'm not for it. I don't think no police officer should be masked unless on the cover. I personally think it's a poor look. Only time I allow my police officers to wear masks is when it's like sub-0 and there's substituted it for like thing. But as a citizen, if you see one of my police officers wearing a mask and you want to see their face, they will pull down their mask for you so you can see their face, you can see their name, you can see their dash number. You will know who they are and you can complain against them.
Probably I think so. It appears that they believe that they don't have to be held, or they can't be held accountable for what they do because they can't be identified.
Yes, I have.
And when they're peeking in people's houses and windows as they're trespassing on their property, can they call you?
You can call, yes. You can call if someone's trespassing on your property, and the police will. You can definitely call the police for that, and we will respond to those calls. Like I said, I realize that this is very political issue. There's a lot of uproar over it. This time in our country is hard, right? But it's up to us as citizens, to you guys as citizens, me in my own private life as a citizen, to continue to speak up, to continue to march, to continue to protest, to continue to express our First Amendment rights, and to continue to hold our politicians, the people who are in power, who make these policy decisions, held accountable. I'm 100% for that, right? I tell my officers, and some of them might disagree with me, is I think I get paid a lot of money to be yelled at. I don't mind being yelled at. I don't mind being questioned. I hold accountable. There was a time when I was growing up and I realized, I'm going to be stopped and I was tossed to the ground and all this stuff for no reason, and I wanted to change the police department. I can gladly say this today, that Milwaukee Police Department doesn't behave as they did back in the 80s, and they don't behave as they did back in the 90s. We do things the correct way. We follow the Constitution. And I hope all law enforcement agencies will follow suit and do the same thing too. Hopefully, this is a short 3-4 year period of time, and we have to deal with this. Hopefully, things will start getting better sooner than that. Hopefully, our politicians will be able to hold those who are in charge accountable for their actions, and then be able to change the narrative here. It is upsetting, but I do recommend you guys keep speaking your minds, showing up to rallies, speaking your voice, and using your pursuit of rights.
I know we have an actual agenda to get to, so I will keep this very brief. I have 2 questions. You said that you guys will always show up to defend people at organized protests. The thing is, if you have to file for a permit and you have to get an approved route, it's not a protest, it's a parade. And when people are seeing other people being accosted or kidnapped, they're going to form a crowd. It's called legal observers. And if enough legal observers are organized in one location where someone's rights are being abused, that can appear to some law enforcement officers as an unruly protest. And it doesn't have time to go through the proper channels of getting approval for a permit and a parade route because it's following the path of right violations. So when those situations arise, we've seen a lot of situations that have escalated on behalf of the law enforcement officers, where they're the ones actually creating an unsafe environment and escalating as opposed to de-escalating the situation. For instance, there's been many occasions on record and video where protesters and or legal observers have been witnessed being pushed into oncoming traffic, being pushed into the road, being forcefully thrown, flung, or pushed onto the ground and accosted by law enforcement officers. You stated previously that you have no issue arresting off-duty officers for crimes committed. Unfortunately, this falls outside of those parameters because those officers are on duty while committing those crimes. When there's not a parade route pre-approved, when there is not a permit pulled, because people are legally observing law obstruction, will your officers be in attendance to protect the citizens and residents, hold accountable the law enforcement officers that are using excessive force, and arrest them for crimes committed, whether in or out of uniform, whether on or off duty? Thank you.
And the answer to your question is, we will do the investigation, all right? I'll make sure I'm very clear, so no one has this misconstrued, okay? Are you gonna see on TV, Milwaukee Police Department tackling ICE officers and putting them in handcuffs? The answer is gonna be no. I'm sorry to say that. I'm telling you know this, but I will.
I don't need you to tackle them, I need you to interfere and stop them.
Okay, listen, we will take the information. If you have a cell phone video of someone doing something wrong, we will take that, we will do our investigation, we will take that investigation, we give it to our district attorney's office or to the attorney general's office or the USDA's for the investigation. Yes, there's that we do. That's what we always do, right? We had 2 recently officer-involved shootings. The same protocol as our agency went out to Brookfield and we investigated the Brookfield officers and their actions, and we're going to turn that information over to the Waukesha County DA's office on their actions, whether it was good or bad. We don't change anything. And it's like yesterday, our officers were involved in the shooting. The Brookfield, the Nate's team, the Milwaukee area investigative team, came out to investigate the Milwaukee Police Department. And they are turning those findings over, whether they're good or bad, over to the Milwaukee County DA's office with all the details of investigation. And outside entity, the district attorney's office or the U.S. attorney's office will make a determination on those officers' actions. That's what we can offer you. That's what we can do.
Okay, so it's my understanding you will not interfere because post-event interaction reporting, post-event interaction accountability didn't say Keith Porter, it didn't say Renee Good, and it didn't say Alex Peretti. So it's my understanding you will stand by, and then down the road, hopefully, there will be future accountability. Is that correct? Can you give me a straightforward?
You're recording someone or you're watching something that happened, how do you envision, why would you be having contact with the ICE, the federal officer? Are you walking over to them, are you throwing something at them?
They are going up to legal observers and pushing them down in the snow, pushing them into traffic, and in some rare occasions that I believe a few people in here may have witnessed, holding a gun to the back of their head while they're unarmed and shooting their brains into the snow. That's what I'm referring to.
Okay. And those things are being investigated, right? Okay. And our job is also to prevent, but I'm telling you, using your First Amendment rights as a legal observer, make sure you're doing so first safely.
Is there an
Right.
SOP to interfere?
Our SOP, no, there's not SOP to interfere with any other law changes, okay? All right, but yes, I told you that right off the bat. I mean, it's the first thing I said up there. We have the SOP, it's on our website. We will not be, I'll say it one more time so everyone can hear me say it. We're not going to be tackling and arresting ICE officers, right? We will do an investigation. We will pass that information on to the DA's office or the state's attorney, but that is where we are. That is where we are.
So we keep us safe.
We all have to keep ourselves safe, right? We have to make sure that we put ourselves in a position to where that stuff is not going to happen, right? I mean, I have a lot of family that does protest, and they have to keep themselves safe too. Like I said, I truly believe in the First Amendment. I truly believe that you should be out there doing what you do, but you got to do it in a safe manner. You got to do it in a responsible manner, and we report those things. Because there's sometimes people like to go a little bit further, and it becomes an issue. Okay? And we're not going to agree on this tonight, right? I'm not going to change your mind. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm telling you what our SOP says. It is on our website. But, like any organization, things can be changed. You have an issue, bring it up to the mayor's office, bring it up to common council, something that needs to be changed, the fire police commission, then we can change our policies. But this is the policy as it is right now, as it is today. Always. All right, I do have to be going, I'm running a little bit behind. My Sergeant Howard will handle the crime stats for the evening, and is our guest here? And our guest is here, do we do the guest first? You want to introduce her? Appreciate you guys all coming, being here, listening to me. All right, I'll see you next time. Most importantly, be warm, be safe, be responsible, use your cell phones, all right? Do it in a respectful, safe manner. Can't save everything, but make sure you're being safe yourself, right? And we all will get through this together, one day at a time. Have a good night.
Good evening, everyone. Jumani Cheatham. I am the Commercial Division Manager of the Department of Neighborhood Services. We do all the building inspections in the city of Milwaukee. We are the agency that comes out and does brand new construction. We do remodels. We do code enforcement. We do fire inspections. We are the building inspection division. I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about short-term rentals, or what is commonly referred to as Airbnbs. I'm here tonight to give you guys a little bit of information with respect to what the city of Milwaukee does with Airbnbs and the licensing factor. So the city of Milwaukee is an agent of the state of Wisconsin, and the state of Wisconsin requires every short-term rental or Airbnb or verbal or whatever type of rental, anything that is less than a 7-day duration, to be registered with the local municipality. The city of Milwaukee has a section of our staff members, it's our environmental section, which I manage, that does hotel, motels, filling station licenses, things like that, and it is the most directly fitting space for that type of license to be housed in, and so we oversee the license process for short-term rentals. What it is it's a simple process, so when you go online, pull up the application process, fill out the application, we go out and we do an inspection of that space to ensure that all the state of Wisconsin safety requirements are being met with respect to that space, and then we issue a license that is good for 1 year, and then every year after that, there is a renewal cycle as well as an inspection period that we go in and do an updated inspection just to make sure that all of the safety features, so we're talking about smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, if there's bunk beds that they're built in correctly, required by the state of Wisconsin. That is what we do with respect to those inspections. I can tell you, for the last couple of years, the city has been looking at some potential changes to the ordinance with respect to how those short-term rentals are licensed. I can tell you right now that has not happened. Across the state of Wisconsin, there have been many years of what's called tourism industry, right? So you got your Door counties, you have your Wisconsin Dells, you have all sorts of other places where for years people have been renting out their cabins in different places like that. And so this falls into that same category, and the city of Milwaukee basically is a microcosm of the larger state, and we have to comply with what the state of Wisconsin says with respect to different categories of licensing as far as that's concerned. We also do campgrounds, and we do specialist inspections on behalf of the state of Wisconsin. So we have to also in those areas comply with what the state of Wisconsin requirements are, which is why we do the licensing process the way that we do. I know that there have been some issues at some of the short-term rentals with respect to parties and shootings and different things like that. What we do is we take a look at those and we go out and we do an inspection. And if there are things that are maintenance in nature, there's broken windows, broken doors, different things like that, we write it up just like we would any other property. If there are zoning code violations to any vehicles, different things like that, we go in our chapter 295, which is the zoning code, and write it up just like that. If there are any other issues with respect to behavioral issues, same thing that you would do with any other long-term rental or any other property, you call the police and they'll come out and take care of whatever issues are at hand. One of the things that I have found challenging with some of the short-term rentals is if you're not the person renting it, or if you're not the person, it's various platforms and either lodge a complaint or get any interaction. For this last incident that we had here in this area, I contacted the platform to lodge a formal complaint, being the authority having jury on it back. So sometimes that is a little bit challenging and a little bit difficult. But if you all see things that are happening at these places that you don't like, reach out to us. We will do the best we can to facilitate what's on the books and what's enforced ordinances that we do have. We'll take into accountability when we do meet with the legislators and bring in any ideas or things that you guys want to see happen. But what we just simply can't do is override what the state of Wisconsin tells us that we have to do with respect to this particular use. Because it falls into a use category, and the use is residential use. If most of you all will remember when this phenomenon first started 6, 7, 8 years ago, the idea was people live at these properties and then they rent their properties out. And even when you think about how they're being used now, somebody rents it. When you have a property where someone is hosting a weekend, if you will, somebody rents it, they go there, they sleep there, they go to the concert, they come back, they sleep there, and then they leave, right? So it is still considered residential use in nature. And residential use is one of the most protected classes of use that there is with respect to code enforcement in the state of Wisconsin. So that's the gist of it. If anybody has any questions, I'll take questions. If not,
I have one.
yes.
Okay, I have 2 questions. The first question, you said, once they pass, they get a 1-year permit. So then, how often do you have, is it like once a, I'm sorry. I have 2-part question. The first part is, when DNS does the inspection, once they pass, they get a permit for a year, and then every year they have to get inspected, right?
Correct.
So is there a way of where they can, get it where they can do it every 2 years, or is it exactly 1 year?
It is exactly 1 year according to state statute.
And then my next question was, I was listening to you saying you guys will, fine them or come in, like if they have shooting there, you'll check it out. And you said if they have broken windows, too many cars parked, if that's part of the shooting, they still get in trouble even though the window was broken from the shooting?
Just like anything else, if you call 286 City or 286-2268 is the DNS complaint line. And this is with any property if you see something that needs to be addressed. So we will come out and address those things individually. But typically when there is any major incident, the Department of Neighborhood Services works in conjunction with the police department, the health department, the licensing division, and we will go out and do extra enforcement at these places. And even if it is damage due to a party or damage due to, unfortunately, when we had the floods in August, there were a lot of people whose properties we had to write up because there was damage due to the flood. But we still have to write it up.
When you do those write-ups, do you provide resources for some of the people that are low income, or they have to get it fixed? And I know
you don't find until like, what, they have 30 days to fix it, something like that?
It all depends on what it is. So there are a ton of resources that are out there, and for each individual situation it varies. You may qualify for one of the programs that run through our city Department of Development. You may qualify for one of the private programs. So if you're a homeowner, the DNS runs a program called Compliance Loan Program, but the trick with that one is you have to have the violations. So it's a low to no interest loan, but it is meant to take care of violations. And so in some instances, it seems like an oxymoron to write somebody up and give them the help. But sometimes that's the only way to give them the help. And so in cases when there is the Department on Aging or any other resources that we can give, we do. With the floods, we did make sure that everybody had access to FEMA applications and some of the other applications. The common council did waive the fees for permits to rebuild, and we did give everybody the time that they needed to get insurance claims and things like that.
Thank you. You're welcome. Airbnbs become a concern or a problem here in the city of Milwaukee?
From my perspective, and I've been doing this a long time, I think the city of Milwaukee, while it is a tourist city, I don't believe we have nearly the amount. I'll be as transparent as I can with you. Right now, it ebbs and flows, but there are about 1,200 advertised Airbnbs at any given time throughout the city, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're active. Now, with respect to registration and permitting, we're probably only around 300 to 400 of those that are actually registered. So we're working to ensure everybody gets registered. Out of that, in the last 3 years that I have been in this position, I think we've had 4 that have had major problems.
Now, when you go out to do the inspection, when you speak in terms of major problems, the major problems generate an inspection. Yes, what type of problems do you need? Do you need some form of violence that happens on the property? Or what do you need that causes you to go out and do an initial or that matter, additional inspection?
So twofold. One, it could be a major incident that would cause us to go back out, but it also could be that broken window. It also could be a neighbor calling and saying, hey, I don't believe this one is registered. We would come out to take a look at that as well. And we have had that in multiple different neighborhoods where the neighborhood group sent us the list of ones that they thought were active, and we would go out and check and double check and make sure, and then we would get into the internal aspects of those inspections as well.
Does both of the Board of Appeals ever get involved with AB?
Short-term rentals?
Yes.
No.
There's no special zoning that's necessary.
There's no special zoning and or license committee component to the application process.
Monty, I just want to thank you for the work you've been doing, tracking down and making sure that the short-term rentals are licensed. The organization that you were talking about that sent you one of those lists in the past was an organization that I'm a part of. So just to let everyone know, if you suspect that there's an unlicensed Airbnb in your neighborhood, because the city, specifically the Department of Neighborhood Services, does not have the resources to staff full-time licensure checking, you'll have to report it yourself. So, Jumani, if you can give people any type of guidance of how they would go about reporting that to make sure that all of the Airbnbs, all 1,200 across Milwaukee, is licensed? And do we have a goal of a time frame in which we can get all of those licensed? Because it is 400 of the 1,200 are licensed right now. That means that there's roughly over 800 rental units available for people, residents, visitors to the city where there's no guarantee that they have fire and safety regulations, there's no guarantee that they have fire extinguishers, there's no guarantee that they have multiple points of egress. So can you just go through that process of how people can make sure that the Airbnbs that they're aware of in their neighborhood, that they would most likely be the ones to first detect, to make sure that they're licensed and that there can be a walkthrough inspection for everyone's safety? Thank you.
No, thank you. Again, as with the broken windows or anything else that you guys may see out there, 286 City or 286-2268 is our DNS complaint line. If you have ones that you think that may not be registered, you can call us and we will go out and check them out. Now, on the flip side to that, my office is working through that entire list of 1,200 and issuing advisories and on orders for folks to comply. And we have, since we started that project, we had to buy a piece of software to help facilitate it. But since we started that project, we have seen the number of applications as well as licenses issued go up. And the other thing that we found is when we issue somebody a advisory or an order who's not actively using it, they typically then will suspend that advertising. So the numbers in from that 1,200 will dwindle that way. And you gotta remember, again, it ebbs and flows with the conventions, Harley Davidson Fest, different things throughout the city, times of the year. Sometimes people may advertise and just rent the place out for that and not necessarily are using it all the time. The other aspect to that is a lot of those units are already a hotel. They're already a motel. They're already some form of unit that people are using. If I don't get a Travelocity guest tonight, if I don't get a regular Hilton guest tonight, I may get an Airbnb guest tonight. So some of those places, we are finding that they overlap. And ones that we find that are already a hotel, the hotel license supersedes the Airbnb license.
Thank you, Johnny.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you guys putting the funding behind purchasing Airbnb to pursue those.
Have you found that most people are trying or would like to, that they are required to have license and so forth for Airbnb?
Yes. I do find that most of the people that we send out letters to, and we have actually gone out and done some knocking talks, most of those folks are complying, as well as at least once last year we did get Airbnb, the platform, to send out a letter with their renewal stating, reminding people that it's their responsibility to be registered with the local municipality.
What's the cost of the license?
$300, don't quote me, but I think it's $300 at initial inspection. Well, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I guess I kind of had a question of, at what percentage of the available housing do you stop allowing Airbnbs to go up? Because they take away from, obviously, the amount of housing available.
I guess that was that's a theory, if you will, because again, if you remember the onset, typically, and a lot of these still are owner occupied. So while you have folks who literally will leave for the weekend and rent their place out, or you have people who live in one unit and rent the other unit out, or people who will rent their unit out at a high value for the convention weekend, things like that. So it ebbs and flows, and especially here, I will be honest, I don't, from a code enforcement perspective, I don't believe that we are over innovating with short-term rentals versus regular rentals.
I just asked a question because I know a lot of them are actually owned by corporations.
Yeah, you're correct. We do have a situation and a phenomenon where, and typically it's super high end. So there are properties on Lake Drive that are owned by corporations who do nothing more than rent these these places out for corporate events or short-term rentals or different things. There are Lake Drive properties in the city of Milwaukee that go for $3,000 a night. And those are the ones that typically we don't have issues with. It's some of the more $50 a night ones or some of the other ones that typically we have issues with. Well, just like any other party situation, it can get out of control. It is. Yep, and so we go back out annually and we double check and make sure they have all of the safety features and everything in place that is on our checklist. Yes.
Going into what you said about corporations that own certain properties, would those be technically commercial use versus residential? Because the profit isn't directly going to an owner, it's going directly to the company. How do you detect
The
that?
use is what's happening in the, so this space, what's happening in it makes it a commercial unit versus somebody sleeping in it makes it a residential unit. So it's the actual use. Thank you. That's the difference, as well as what the intent of the original design of the structure is. So if it's an apartment, that's a residential use. You can't grow into anything outside of a residential use. Yes.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if there are other states where it has become a problem with the number of Airbnbs, and what they've done is they said that you cannot have an Airbnb unless you are residing in the building as well.
Not only just other states, but other municipalities throughout the state of Wisconsin. So there are certain restrictions with respect to time frame. There are certain restrictions with respect to how many we can have. There are some places that have attempted to ban it altogether, and typically that is I don't want to call it a fight, but that is a negotiation between that municipality and the state.
Has Milwaukee thought about doing that at all?
Or on the contract behind you can answer that.
We have for quite some time, myself and a few other alders, been dealing with primarily the city attorney's office, but also DMS, and the Department of City Development, for what we can do. Many of the things that we've seen other cities do, there have been lawsuits brought against the municipalities in the state of Wisconsin, that have done those. And former Alderman Rostoff put in legislation for us to duplicate what Madison does. Madison had a whole bunch of this, much of their legislation as it relates to Airbnb had to change. So the city attorney had asked us to wait for certain major cases to be done before we put forward our Airbnb legislation, because what's the point of doing it if we have to overturn it? A couple of those cases have been decided, and there are a couple more that still need to be decided. Of the ones that have been decided, because I just met with the city attorney's office, the findings are utterly confusing for the legality of certain things. So I share the frustration of residents who have to live with the problem of Airbnbs in their neighborhoods for our ability to restrict. I know this though, from what I've been told by the city attorney based on the cases that have already gone forward. We don't have the ability to limit how many people have. It is my understanding that we don't have the ability to limit to only places that they live. A lot of the stuff that other people are doing, there's so many restrictions against that here in Wisconsin. So we are working, trying to figure out what we can do without legal challenge. But a lot of the basic stuff that you or I was just thinking it should happen, it's different impediments there because of it. But we're still fighting a fight and still trying to figure out something, and we will unveil something. We're just trying to make it not legally challengeable. That's all. Thank you.
And I would just add to that is, the plain sentiment of if you see something, say something, right? Call us, because what you think may not be on the books or whatever, we may have some other ordinance on the books that helps us to deal with that situation. So, and we want to know, right? When we, just like the police department says, call them, so at least that call is registered, right? So once a property gets so many calls and whatnot, it tips the scales. So it helps when you guys see something, or something just doesn't look right, or something just doesn't feel right, or you can say something, because there may be something else going on that could be related to.
To piggyback, there's something called 80-10 for nuisance property. That whether it's an Airbnb or whether it's a regular property, there's 3 calls for nuisance activity within 30 days. I believe that's what it is. For those who have nuisance or problem ones in their neighborhoods, also report it to the platform. Because although we may be limited in this moment for what we can do, the platforms can kick them off the platform. And maybe, just maybe, if they get enough complaints about them, they'll do that. So I would just encourage, and I've been to a few other neighborhoods that had problem stuff, and that's what they decided to do. And in this one case, it worked. So I would just encourage you, if you have a problem in your area, contact the platform and let them know. Thank you. Oh, I have to go, I got a kid pick up across town. I just want to say thank you all. It's lovely to see so many residents concerned about each other and concerned about the city. And lastly, shout out to Alderwoman Pratt over there. We will be hosting the 10th annual Black History Program in celebration of 100 years of celebrating Black History Month in the city of Milwaukee. It'll be on the 10th at noon. At City Hall, and it's free and open to the public, and there'll be refreshments. We encourage everybody to come. Thank you all.
Thank you. I have one more question.
Oh,
Go ahead. During your inspection, did you set a limit as far as capacity, how many individuals, how many persons
Can actually stay in an Airbnb at a given time,
Yes,
and that's established.
that's established right up front during the initial inspection.
That was my question.
Thank you all.
Moral clarity, expand Airbnb because they still rent spaces in occupancy. We should ban Airbnb because they still rent spaces in occupied West Bank.
All right, good evening, everyone. I am not going to take up too much of your time. I know we've had some real issues earlier today. I hope that you guys have your questions answered. If not, I did want to give you guys the standard operating procedure number is 130. So if you guys want to go over that is the number, it's 130. All right, so I have seen you guys a little bit more. I think my name should be up here instead of that's you guys a little more.
Is it off or on the side?
All right, then. Back. Okay. There we go. All right. So I'm not going to go over each individual. Like I said, I won't keep you long. So we will go over. So everyone knows that our violent crimes consist of homicides, rapes, robberies, aggravated assault, and human trafficking. So we have our change for rape was 56%, which went up, so we went down in that. Our robberies have went up, our aggravated assaults have went up, 32%, our human trafficking is at 0%. Our total violent crime is 79 in 2025, and then 104 in 2026, and that's 32%. Our total, our property crime consists of burglary, theft, auto theft, and arson. And in burglary, it's gone up, it's gone down 29%. Our theft has gone up. Our auto theft has gone up 45%. Our arson is 100%. Total property crime, 139 in 2025, and January 2026 is 165. Here, our total property crime is 218 in 2025 and 269 in 2026. Our non-fails and our carjackings, non-fails in December of 2025 is 5, and January 2026 is 8, which is 60% we went up. And our carjackings are the same, 0% change. Our year-to-date, our homicide is up 100%, our rapes down 43%, and sometimes people ask about it, but they have a stranger and they have a family. Those constitute our rapes. Our robberies have went up 14%, aggravated assault 11%, human trafficking 100%, and with all that's going on in our city and in our community, don't forget if you do see something suspicious, if the young lady is being trafficked, please give us a call so that we can launch an investigation. Our total violent crime is 114 for 2025 and 104 for 2026, which is 9% change. Burglary, theft, auto theft, and arson, burglary is 12% up, 24% for theft, and arson is 6% down. Our total property is 155 for 2025 and 2026 165. The total for this 2025 is 269 and 2026 269, which is 0%. Yes.
So for the total offense for 2025 for homicide, is only one homicide?
The 2025 our district. That remembers our district, not our whole city.
Only one homicide?
In District 5.
For all of 2025?
Year to date, so that would just be up to this point of 2025.
Yes.
So as of like
December, yeah. So not yet, the whole, no, not the whole year of 2025. Like, I would love it to be this show, I really would. That'd be great for us, really. But no, I see what you're saying. Thank you for that. Anybody else real quick? Okay. All right, I'll keep going. Our non-fails for 2024 was 5, 2025 was 8. 60% change. Carjackings was 2 in 2024, and then 2025, 100%. All right. Our automatic part 1 crime, like I said before, I'm going to go through all of them, but our total violent crime for automatic 1 is 13. For automatic 3 is 1. Automatic 6 is 65. Automatic 7 17, automatic 15 is 8. And let's not forget, I know we may have new spaces in here, that automatic 6 makes up a lot of District 5, so that's why it's more crime in that area. Our total property crime for automatic 1 is 25, automatic 3 is 8, automatic 6 is 105, automatic 7 is 18, and automatic 15 is 9. So our total is 38. Automatic 1, 9, automatic District 3, 170 for automatic District 6, 35 for automatic District 7, and 17 for automatic District 15. And then at the bottom for non-federal shootings and carjackings, just 1 in automatic District 1, automatic 6, there's 3, and that's it for that category. Over in our top 10 call types, we have our welfare assistant, our trouble with subjects, our shot spotters, motor vehicle accidents, battery, fight and assaults, threats, theft, subject with a weapon going up to 2,038. So those are the calls that we get in District 5 as a total for this year today for our automatic type 1 crime. All right, so these are our numbers for our homicides, our double non-fatal shootings, firearm related, aggravated assaults. The 2 homicides that we have, we know that both of them are in custody. One was EV related, that's the one over in Monty, and then the one that is in the Franklin Heights area, that is, when someone was playing with a gun and it went off. So just to speak on a little bit of that, if you do have young grandchildren or children that live with you, doing like some daily checks of their rooms, we know and understand that we can't be there for everything that our kids do. So just like some checks of their rooms, teaching them about gun safety. You may not want them to handle a gun, but there may be an instance where you're not around and they may handle a gun. So you want to start teaching them about gun safety at the age that you feel appropriate. And also investing and then other people know investing in gun locks and gun cases to keep those guns locked up when the kids are around.
Question.
Yes.
At one of the previous crime and safety meetings, I believe you guys talked about a community resource that's available for gun locks and gun cases. I don't think it was the most recent one, but it was last year. Do you have any information on that, just because of that specific homicide incident where we're talking about gun safety?
I know that we are actually trying to get that up and running this year as far as trying to get community partners to help out with the safety laws. So we are trying to do that as far as, a little bit more, our community partner from Save the Sound. He may know a little bit more about that, because there is a lot of entities around that works with like gun safety and stuff like that.
And I just had one more. When you go back to the spot shooter slide, you don't have to physically go back to it,
Okay.
but I just had a question for that slide. I know you guys are using spot shooter as an acoustic audio tracker in the neighborhoods to find out when there's gunshots that aren't reported. Is there any plan to install additional block cameras across Milwaukee to try to do further surveillance?
I can have an answer for you next time, but I do know that we do have block cameras throughout the city. I am one of like the block people who actually use it. So as far as that, I don't know for sure. As far as the shots fired that you're speaking of, you may be asking about if you're going to put more on those as well.
Yeah, are you guys planning to expand those programs? And is that information kept internal to the city of Milwaukee, or is it shared with any outside groups?
So I would say that that's a little bit above me. I haven't heard any talk about putting anything new, but that is a question I certainly can ask. Okay.
And also, will ICE have access to those new block cameras?
I have no idea if I will have access to that. Yes.
I'm the president of Franklin Heights, and I got a question. Is it some way that I can find the statistics for Franklin Heights alone, their statistics on what you just posted?
Actually, yeah, I mean, we can, if you need that information, like say, for instance, when you have your block watches, my community partnership unit, they're able to bring those out. They can request it from our analysts, our crime analysts, if you wanted to have more specifically to the Franklin Heights. 'Cause we do it all the time for other, okay. Let's see. All right, so robbery carjackings, these are our dots for the year. I do want to talk a little bit about that just briefly. We've had 6 arrests, which is good. But a lot of these happen when you're trying to, well, not you guys, but when I say you know, but when people are trying to sell items, like, from Facebook Market, whatever it is. What I suggest is that you guys meet like at a police station, maybe somewhere lighted if you can't, somewhere where people will see what's going on, because a lot of people are meeting up in these areas where there's nobody around and they're being robbed for these items, and also sometimes their cars as well. So if you want to sell anything, make sure it's somewhere that you are safe. Some of these robberies have happened with gambling, not the gambling at Potawatomi. Sometimes it can, because if they leave Potawatomi and somebody's watching, they can get robbed that way as well. But gambling in houses, that we have a lot of those that happen. And then, let's see here, some of the fast food and retail shops, they've been getting hit as well. robberies and carjackings. And I'm glad to say today we got the last one. So we got the last one. Not saying that it may not happen with some other ring, but at least we closed this one for now. All right, so burglaries, like I said, have been down. We had 6 arrests, and let's see here. Our most was residences, we had businesses, and we had a garage. So all I want to say with this one is make sure you're locking your windows and your doors. Make sure when it starts getting nighttime, so you know when you have to get in when the street lights come on, make sure you're closing your blinds, you know, so that people are not inside looking in your windows to see what you have. And as far as your packages being delivered, let's make sure that we are trying to get them on the side of our house or somewhere that they're not going to be in front where people can see them and know what you have in your house. And if you bought your plasma this year, make sure you are cutting those boxes up or at least getting them when you're leaving, taking with you so you can dispose of them. Maybe your job has a place where you can throw your boxes. Because people see that and then they know what you have in your house. And the last one. Alright. So this is the last one, is our auto theft. As you can see, we've had a lot of auto thefts. And we are actually diligently working, trying to get people in custody for the auto theft. It's happening. We know we're trying to get it under control. It has been a lot of juveniles who are committing some of these auto thefts. And as we all know, we do try to work with the juvenile justice system because with the juveniles that go in, they're coming right back out. And they're doing the same thing and not learning. So we are trying to, we're trying to work with them regarding, and they're using these key file programmers now. You know, I do have a squad that's dedicated to if any juveniles that are running, like going out and actually actively looking for them and trying to get them in custody so that they be held accountable for what they're out there doing. And then the only thing I want to say about this is that we did have 5 arrests, and I also want to say, lock your doors, make sure you lock your doors. I know some people say, well, I don't lock my doors because I don't want them to break all that. Lock your doors. Don't leave any valuables, purses, wallets, computers, anything of value, don't leave it for people to see. And then also, maybe try to park in lighted areas if you can. I know sometimes our streets are dark, but try to park in lighted areas. And if you know of your, you can catch something with those doorbells, sometimes, it's a little bit too far over range, but I mean, try to, just some other options, suggestions, that's all. And I think that's all for us. Yes, that's all. If anyone has any questions, feel free. But like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time.